The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hey, what's up? This is Jeff Cobb, and you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the Ace of Podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll review Fighting Spirit Unleashed Nights 2 through 6 of Super Junior Tag League. We'll also preview Power Struggle and cover all the latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Please support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network or Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the network's podcasts over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by the NJPWEXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com, frequently updated and with features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. You can visit njpwext.us today for details. Young boy, welcome back to the show, man.
I am here. And as I've learned in my absence, the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling never stops.
That is very true. I know Court likes to say that about MLW, but it's definitely true when it comes to New Japan.
So we're reviewing nights 2 through 6 of the Super Grade Tag League.
The Super Junior Tag League, yep.
All right. How many more nights are there?
There are 3 more nights of tournament action left.
I undershot my return. I should have come back next week when it was concluded, essentially.
Yeah, that would have been the smart move. Come back, Power Struggle, John Moxley in action, some big matches, Will and Shooter come back, just review that show. Easy living.
And I'm not even talking bad on the tag league or anything like that, because I'm sure it's probably been good. It just would have been less. It'll be easier for me to get back in the swing of things if I just completely nixed the entire tour. But no, in all seriousness, I haven't seen any of this. I haven't watched New Japan Pro Wrestling since before Evil and Sonata locked it up for the world title.
That was a good place to stop.
Yeah. Had a vacation, came back. And unfortunately, I'm not Jeremy Donovan. I wasn't able to catch back up into the swing of things the way that you did when you powered through the end of the G1. So, had a lot of stuff going on. Won't get into all of it, but essentially I'm coming in blind, which, I think after, what is this, our 6th year doing this show?
Yeah, this is episode 309.
After 6 years, I think I've earned the ability to, skip a little tour.
Yeah, man, this Junior Tag League tour, it's been fast, furious. It's going to be over come this weekend with the Power Struggle show. The finals will be on that show. So yeah, really fast tour here.
What do they win?
They get some trophies and a shot at Wrestle Kingdom against the junior champions if the champions don't win.
Cool. You know what? The next question I'm thinking is, who the fuck are the champions? It's Split Club War Dogs, right?
Yeah, my dogs for real.
But I'm just taking a shot in the dark. I wasn't totally sure.
Yeah, Big Drilla Maloney and Clark Connors. They've been doing great work in the tournament.
Did you ever watch Game of Thrones?
I did not know.
All right, then. Well, this is less effective. There was a kid. Like, I saw a photo of Drilla Maloney, and there's been somebody that he always like reminded me of, and I realized who it was. It's this character from Game of Thrones, but it's not going to be effective if you don't know who the character is.
Maybe our listeners will get the joke.
And I let me see. I'll figure out who it is and I'll get back to you.
Okay. Well, before we jump into Super Junior Tag League, I wanted to talk about NJPW Fighting Spirit Unleashed, which happened this past Saturday, October 28th from Sam's Town Live, Las Vegas, Nevada. The show was live on Fight TV for English commentary and then Japanese commentary over at njpwworld.com. We had the debut of Walker Stewart doing English commentary on the show. He was in the booth with Veda Scott. So we had a nice little show here. We had 2 pre-show matches. So they're doing this new gimmick now called the Strong Survivor match, where these are standouts from the NJPW Academy, and what it sounds like is whoever wins goes on to the next US show and almost like defends their spot. So you kind of keep going until like somebody beats you and then that person moves on. So that's the thing they're doing here to try and showcase some of these academy students. So we had Matt Vandergriff defeating Buck Skinner in the opening match there in Strong Survivor. Matt won with a 450.
And was this actually part of the broadcast?
This was the pre-show, so this was on free on YouTube.
Okay, but I mean, like, you could watch it. Did you watch that pre-show?
I did, yeah.
Okay, real quick before we get back to that, I found the character. So some people are going to think I'm crazy, but I'm just going to challenge you. Go find a photo of this character. His name is Robin Aaron. Let me show you a photo of this character, Jeremy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see it.
It's like, now when that character first started in the show, he's like a snot-nosed kid, and then everyone was always talking about how at the end of the show he had this big glow-up. I think that Drilla Maloney is like the final evolved form of Robin Aaron, essentially.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. That picture you showed me kind of looks like TJP a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Getting back to this, though, so what did you think of Matt Vandergriff and Buck Skinner? And does this make you want to watch the LA showcases at all?
I mean, I thought they were fine. They had 5 minutes, kind of in there, out there. Matt Vandergriff, he did look good. He did a running shooting star press, did a finish with the 450, got the win. So he's doing flips. That's a win for me. But it was fine. I mean, I would like to see maybe a little bit longer, see what they can do in a longer match setting. But for what it was here, it was fun.
That doesn't sound too inspiring.
Then after that, we had a 6-man tag, Team Filthy, Danny Limelight, Jarrell Nelson, and Royce Isaacs. They defeated the team of Balian Aki, Jacob Austin Young, and Titus Alexander, 6 minutes and 54 seconds.
Balianaki of Choco Pro fame.
It was actually my first time seeing him in action.
Oh, you didn't watch him wrestle Minoru Suzuki on the chocolate mat?
No, I did not.
I did.
But yeah, he was pretty good. Jacob Austin Young, we've seen on the Weekly Strong TV shows before that show ended. Titus Alexander, he had the match with Will Ospreay. So 3 kind of really good independent talents here, but essentially this was a showcase for Team Filthy. First time for a while, Danny Limelight being back with those guys as well. But West Coast Wrecking Crew, they picked up the win and built some momentum for what was going to happen later on in the night. So then from there, we opened up with the main card. We had a 4-way match to determine the number one contender for the NJPW Strong Openweight Championship. And my man, Satoshi Kojima, defeats Alex Coughlin, Fred Rosser, and Jeff Cobb 9 minutes and 51 seconds to become the next challenger for the Strong Openweight title.
Who'd they job? Coughlin?
Yeah. No, it was Rosser.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I was very surprised Kojima won here. I thought that they were going to go either Rosser or Cobb, Rosser being the only former Strong champion in the match, and also Jeff Cobb being the most established, pushed main roster guy. But yeah, out of nowhere, Kojima hits the strongest arm lariat on Rosser to get the pin and win the 4-way.
Nice.
Then after that, we had a CMLL women's tag team match. Stephanie Vaquer and Zeusis defeated Johnny Robbie and Uvia in 7 minutes and 40 seconds. Vaquer and Zeusis, they are the CMLL women's tag team champions. Vaquer is the CMLL women's world champion. Fun match here, essentially a showcase match for Vaquer and Zeusis. Vaquer gets the win with a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker over the knee. And after the match, she shows off her title. She gets on the mic and she calls out Mayu Iwatani for Lonestar Shootout coming up November 10th.
Yeah, I see between this match and the other women's match on the card, 20 minutes of match time. That's a hefty chunk of the show, don't you think there, Rock?
Well, if he's gonna bring in women like this, I'm totally fine with it. Vaquer, she impressed a lot with the Monet match earlier this year.
Yeah, she's sort of to those in the know, they've seen her and they've been exposed and they know that she's a talented commodity. But I still feel like she's a little bit of an unknown. That's like pretty much ready to break out on the international scene. So good for her. One good thing here, the stopwatch crowd, they're not going to be complaining about, the fighting spirit unleashed.
That's right. You got plenty of women's action here. So good stuff. Vaquer going to challenge Mayu Iwatani. That should be a pretty fun matchup. Then after that, we had of the Bullet Club War Dogs, Gabe Kidd defeating Filthy Tom Lawler 12 minutes and 30 seconds. This match was awesome. This was hard-hitting, strong style. These guys throwing blows, suplexes. It was a great suplex exchange in the middle of the match, exchanging back suplexes. Gabe Kidd did the Claudio Giant Swing. That was a cool. So yeah, these guys, very hard-hitting, really going at each other. Gabe Kidd, he uses a ref bump, well, I guess kind of the ref out of position to hit a low blow, and then he hits Tom Lawler with some championship that he stole from some indie, and then he hit his pile driver and he got the pin. So some heat there for Gabe Kidd, as he's going to be facing Will Ospreay next month in Rev Pro, so he's picking up some momentum, and poor Filthy Tom here cheated out of a match. Then after that, we had an interview backstage with Hyan, who was going to be challenging Julia later on. Gave a little promo there. And then it moved on to Atlantis' 40th anniversary match. So we had Hiroshi Tanahashi teaming up with Atlantis and Atlantis Jr. and Mystico to defeat Adrian Kress, Rocky Romero, Soberano Jr., and Tiger Mask 10 minutes and 20 seconds.
That sounds like the time when Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, Sting, and Lex Luger teamed up for War Games.
Yeah, it's a pretty all-star, babyface team here. They came out, they gave Atlantis flowers to honor his 40-year anniversary. Our good friend Rocky did not like this. His team, they jumped the faces, they beat up Atlantis with the flowers. There's rose petals all over the ring.
Kayfabe, Brock. This is different. This is not CMLL. What are we doing? Your babyface over here. Chaos.
No, he saw Mask. He didn't like that. Yeah. rose petals all over the ring for the whole match. Yeah, beat these guys with the rose petal, and essentially the beginning part of the match where the heels, well, I guess kind of heels, because I mean, Solano, Tiger Mask, and Adrian Quest, I feel are kind of mainly faces, but for this match, they were the heels in this match, and they were getting the heat on Atlantis and Atlantis Jr. and Mystico, but then eventually the babyfaces came back, and it was kind of a house of fire and just really ran through the heels. There's a lot of miscommunication between Rocky Romero and Soberano, so I'm wondering if that's going to set up a match between those two guys at CMLL. And so ultimately, yeah, the babyfaces just couldn't, or the heels couldn't get their act together, and the faces got the win here. And so nice little celebration for Atlantis for his 40th anniversary. And it was also Rocky's birthday, so he was also not happy that, yeah, all the focus was on Atlantis's anniversary match and not his birthday. Then after that, we had
we did have a question there.
Oh, yep, almost missed that. Yeah, so Oscar Rooney says, is Rocky making a case this whole year as a challenger for the junior belt?
I think that's a very interesting question because even, a few months ago, just before the G1, we'd had Rocky on the show and interviewed him. If you haven't checked that out, highly recommended, episode 300. And even back then, Rocky was definitely making headway in this run that he's, in the midst of in Mexico. But even then, with all the cool stuff he's been doing, it didn't necessarily feel like this is going to translate to anything to establish him in the kayfabe of New Japan necessarily. But, with the kind of crossover with CMLL and AEW and kind of getting that on the national stage, and then sort of just a lot more high profile stuff happening in the West with like Impact and Ring of Honor and AEW, and that all kind of being translated based on his boost from CMLL. I do think that there could hypothetically be, if New Japan's booking, was smart about it, they could use this as a way to catapult him into, like a junior title run, the run that he's been wanting and that he's never been able to have. And, part of the handicap for why that's never been established is because, there's a normal trajectory of how that would happen within the confines of New Japan Pro Wrestling, whether that's like winning a Best of Super Juniors or going on a massive run some other time of the year. And the stars have just never kind of aligned for Rocky in the past, decade. But now that he's kind of found this acclaim on the outside, it feels like that might be a wave that he could ride to potentially become a title challenger. My only question is whether the domestic crowd is aware of this, or if it even, if New Japan needs to do a bit of promoting about what his activities outside of the company are right now.
Yeah, definitely. I think there could be more promoting of what Rocky's doing. He won the MLW middleweight championship, so he now has 2 titles. So I think there's a lot you could do to really elevate him and potentially challenge Hiromu. So yeah, I definitely think Rocky should be a challenger in the near future.
Yeah, it feels like that. It feels like that would be a really smart thing to do, especially with how mid this Hiromu title is going right now.
Yeah. So after that matchup, we had a cinematic video of a man drinking at a bar, throwing darts at a picture of Toru Yano.
Mox.
No, unfortunately, it was not John Moxley. It was Joey Janela. He's coming to New Japan in Texas. Lonestar Shootout, him versus Toru Yano. Josh, what are your thoughts on the bad boy coming into Shinihon?
I don't know. It's fine. We've got, women wrestling on the shows. So, I mean, there's no sanctity in this company anymore. So, no, I'm just playing. But, they got Bruce Skinner and Vandegrift. They can't be, any worse than Joey Janela. So, listen, I'm fine with it. Do I think Joey Janela should be pushed as a major commodity? Maybe not. Possibly. Maybe it gets over in Japan. I don't know. But, if they ever bring him over, but as long as it's not Sammy Callahan, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've seen some people kind of throwing backlash about Joey coming into New Japan. Well, first of all, it's New Japan of America. And I think for the America shows, I mean, you got to do stuff that draws. And like it or not, Joey Janela has been draws for independent shows, GCW. His AEW run kind of helped elevate his name. So, people know who he is. I feel like he is an attraction. You can throw him in a wild kind of garbage match, hardcore plunder match. He's going to do something crazy that's going to go viral. So I think he's a guy that, for this America brand, you could use to help draw.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a reason that they've got him in there with Toru Yano specifically,
Yeah. So it's either going to be like a comedy match, or maybe we get like Deathmatch Yano with the red hair and they do something kind of crazy plunder brawl.
It'll be fun. It's nothing, to get up in arms about. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah. Now, if he, ends up in the G1 over like Filthy Tom, maybe we'll have some problems then.
Yeah, that'd be a different story. But unless like he starts like, remember when he was at the tail end of that WWN run and he started wrestling good?
Oh yeah, he had some good matches like an Evolve there as a champion.
That's what I meant. Yeah, when he was in Evolve as the WWN champion, like if he starts wrestling like that again, maybe we could talk.
Yeah. So after that, we had the NJPW Strong Women's Championship match. Julia defeated Hyan 12 minutes and 3 seconds. Hyan, a student of Booker T, there from the Reality Wrestling School. Thought it was a good back and forth matchup, kind of 3.5 range there for me. Julia hits the Northern Lights bomb to get the win.
I thought Hyan was a Joshi. I had no clue who this person was. I didn't know at all.
Yeah. Yeah, she's kind of one of the top women now in the independent scenes. Former trainer of, like I said, trained by Booker T. She called out Julia at the last Stardom show after Julia had defended the Strong title. So that's how this match got set up. We had a question from Solid Deuce. Says, casuals who watch with me are often confused about the abundance of titles and the meanings of each. Julia's pink belt last night is one example. Do you think all these titles are needed? If not, what would you cut?
Well, the pink title is a Stardom title, so that's not necessarily part of the hierarchy of New Japan Pro Wrestling's titles, though there definitely is.
Well, he's talking about the Strong Women's title.
Oh, is that title pink?
Yeah.
Man, I thought it was like a light blue purplish.
It's like a pinkish purplish kind of color. I guess depending maybe how your TV's adjusted. But I think that's the title he was talking about.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I mean, obviously we've talked in the past about, why are there 2 women's titles, and there's a lot of discourse about that. We talked to Rocky about it, going back to that aforementioned interview. And yeah, if it were me, I would probably say at this point in time, merge those 2 titles, especially since, I make jokes about women in New Japan, but that's just because they didn't have women's wrestling for so many years. But in all seriousness, if they are going to have a women's division, I don't see the necessity to have 2 women's titles. I understand one's for Strong and then one is the IWGP, but the original pitch of what the IWGP title was even supposed to be, it was supposed to be a cross-branded title between New Japan and Stardom, and it would be defended on major shows for both companies. And that's not really happening so much. It's at this point, it seems like it's not going to be defended on New Japan shows hardly at all. And then the other aspect of the deal was that it would be featured heavily in North America. And I don't know if the Strong brand, even though they're having some success, has been able to kind of ultimately, at the end of the day, it seems like they're the third man to the other 2 when it comes to booking talent. And it's like, you can imagine the headache that it probably is for Rocky to try to get like Rossi and Ghetto on the same page when it comes to like arranging like who he can get when he can get them. So probably the reason there's 2 women's titles right now is just because it's like, I'll take who I can get when I can get them. We want them to have a belt. But realistically, neither of these titles are being defended regularly in New Japan, not even on the big shows. And this year for Wrestle Kingdom, there's not even going to be women Wrestle Kingdom. So yeah, I think it is a little pointless to have both belts. It might be a good idea to just have one champion, but at the same time, these both got introduced in the past calendar year. So I don't know. It's like almost like such short notice to think about unifying two titles. Like they probably just shouldn't have done a strong title.
Yeah, and yeah, we've talked about this several times on the show, and I feel like overall the strong brand, like going away from the weekly TV to what's supposed to be kind of like these monthly pay-per-view things, I don't really feel like they needed to keep a lot of the strong branding and titles. Like I feel like the draw should just be New Japan is coming to America. You bring your U.S. title over, you bring your heavyweight tag titles, your junior tag titles, you bring all the belts that people know and familiar with to your U.S. show and not create these strong titles, strong tag titles, women's titles.
Well, the problem with that, Jeremy, is we were assuming based on the verbiage at the time was like less quantity, more quality, that these shows were going to be bigger venues, higher level production, and more Japanese, domestic level stars. And there is some of that here. I mean, this is not a horrendous show by any means, but by and large, we have seen that these are not like the full New Japan experience. They are uniquely New Japan strong. And for better or for worse, I think in the long run, it's been better for them to just keep their strong branded titles, because it's very clear that New Japan, like proper, doesn't have the intentions to send over their strong or their like never champion and the US champion and tag champs on a regular basis. Like that's just not in the cards for them.
Right. And plus a lot of times these shows are happening when there are tours happening.
Right.
And I get we are on a junior heavy tour in Japan right now, but there's still some heavyweights on the undercard. So not everybody was available to be sent over for this big show. You have Lonestar Shootout coming out pretty soon, so that they're kind of doing these shows like in the middle of tours, right at the end of tours, where guys are burnt out and you can't send a ton of people over.
Yeah, I think where some of the confusion is, like, I see the point of having the strong titles, but it becomes overkill when you're watching New Japan proper, and then you have the strong champions on there plus all the other belts, which, let's be real, there's a lot of different titles in New Japan as well. So I mean, even beyond just the question of the two women's titles, I mean, there's 3 tag team championships. There's the Never Six Man. There's the KOPW. There's the TV title. The US. There's a lot of belts.
Yeah, and then you mentioned too when you bring in somebody like Julia who holds the Stardom 6-man the Trios Championship.
That's what I thought he was referring to when he said the pink belt. I thought, because those Trios belts are all different colors.
Yeah, maybe he was talking about that one too.
Well, I didn't watch the show. I just assumed she had one of the pink, Stardom belts.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention to the Stardom belt, but she definitely she had the strong women's title, and she did have one of the Stardom belts, but I didn't remember what color it was.
Okay.
But yeah, when you have outsiders coming in, and like Stephanie Ricoeur, she had both her CMLL titles, which I mean, I'm fine with outsiders bringing their company's titles, but then I think for a casual fan, it can be kind of confusing on what all titles are.
Yeah. And it can be confusing too if you're watching on the Japanese feed. So you should probably pony up and pay Fight TV for that English commentary.
Yeah, Walker Stewart, man, he did a pretty good job. I was pretty impressed with his commentary. He kind of has a Ian Riccaboni vibe to him, kind of that professional kind of broadcastery news voice.
Should have called us. We have professional sounding voices.
Yeah, I don't know if I could commentate a whole show.
I could commentate a wrestling show. That's nothing, I would suck.
Yeah, but I thought Walker and they were a good team. I thought Walker did really good on the call. So yeah, he was good. So yeah, check out the English commentary for this if you haven't. Then following that matchup, we had the NJPW Strong Tag Team titles on the lines. The Guerrillas of Destiny, El Phantasmo and Hikuleo defeated Monster Sauce, Alex Zane, and Lance Archer 9 minutes and 25 seconds.
Yeah, a couple tours back, we're sitting here being like, Monster Sauce, bring back Monster Sauce. This is going to be an incredible tag team. They got them jobbing to God, the God 2.0.
Yeah. Yeah, they did put on commentary. This was Monster Sauce is only their second match teaming together. They're getting a tag team title shot, and they're already making claims to wanting to be in World Tag League, which I would be fine with. They had new music for Monster Sauce team logo. They're both wearing the red and black type of colors. So I think they could do something with Monster Sauce. I would welcome them to World Tag League.
They both got to do something. AEW's not pushing Archer. New Japan's barely using Zayn. They need an avenue. And, Archer is no stranger to basically being like, I don't have an avenue. We're going to fuck shit up in a tag team.
Exactly.
You know what else I love about God? Remember in the 90s, anytime like Vince brought in a team and he would just call them the new...
Yeah, New Rockers.
The New Rockers. The new, what were some? There was other ones I can't remember.
New Midnight Express.
Yeah, the New Midnight Express and the New Blackjacks. Like this is the new God.
LOD 2000.
That was the same guys with just different gear.
Oh man, so yeah, Girls of Destiny here. This was a good back and forth matchup. Also, you had Zayn and Phantasmo as the faster pace high flyers on the team, and then the big man Hikuleo and Archer. There was a cool spot where both Archer and Phantasmo did their rope walk spot at the same time and went face to face and did a spot there. That was pretty cool. But ultimately at the end, it was ELP hitting the Thunder Kiss 86 on Alex Zane to get the win here. So God retains. And then post-match, we had Nelson and Isaacs, West Coast Wrecking Crew. They came out and attacked Phantasmo and Hikuleo got on the mic and said they're tired of these thrown together tag teams being featured on Strong. They built the division. They've never been Strong champions. So they're calling out God for Lone Star Shootout.
I hope they win because, like, like if those guys fail at winning these titles again, like, I don't know, bro. Like, maybe somebody else should sign them or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, I felt like the whole reason they made Strong titles were for West Coast Wrecking Crew, and then also that they went with Aussie Open instead. And now these guys have just kind of been lingering around. They haven't won the titles yet. They threw it here on ELP and Phantasmo. The War Dogs are the champions before them. So, yeah, hopefully come Lone Star Shootout, they could finally capture these Strong tag team titles. Then after that, we had the NJPW Strong Openweight title on the line. Eddie Kingston defeats Hanare, 12 minutes and 42 seconds. This was another good, very hard-hitting matchup here. Lots of great T-bone suplexes were thrown in this match. Both these guys were dropping each other on their head with T-bone suplexes. Lots of great near falls. Eddie had a great spinning back fist near fall where he collapsed on Hanare. Hanare was able to kick out. They exchanged some more suplexes. Eddie once again hits two spinning back fists and gets the win there and retains the title. And then after that, Satoshi Kojima gets in the ring. He says, "Congratulations, Mr. Eddie Kingston. You are very strong, but I love bread."
Okay.
Then he says, "Next time, Dallas, Texas, I will kick your ass." and Eddie said, "All right, I'll see you in Texas." So crowd popped big for that. So it's official. Bread Club, Satoshi Kojima coming to Texas to take on Eddie Kingston.
All right, since we're on the subject, let me ask you. Eddie Kingston is the dual champion. He's got the ROH title as well as the New Japan Strong Openweight title. I'm guessing that he's probably not going to be allowed to do any real jobs as the Strong champion until he drops that ROH title. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, what are we looking at here? Like, what's the timetable on this whole thing?
I don't know. I mean, we got the next ROH pay-per-view is coming up December 13th, 16th, somewhere in that range. Final Battle. So I'm assuming he will defend the title on that show. Maybe he drops the ROH title there and then maybe he can drop the strong title after that, maybe.
I mean, does it matter to you that he's kind of like hamstrung for the time being and just has to remain champion, or?
I think I'm fine with it because it's a strong title. There hasn't been frequent strong shows as much as previous years, and again, very similar to Joey Janela in a way, but probably even a better case of Eddie Kingston's a big draw, big pop. He's a very popular guy. Anytime he's on these New Japan shows, he's getting one of the loudest pops. So I think he's a great guy to help attract, especially your AEW fan or your casual US wrestling fan to a New Japan show.
Yeah, I remember Jon Moxley held the GCW world title concurrently with the world title, I believe. But the difference there was like he wasn't allowed to drop the GCW title till after he lost the AEW title. And then they never had him bringing or acknowledged that he was GCW champion on AEW television, but he brings out that strong title pretty often on AEW. So, I mean, unless they found a workaround, maybe like a multi-man match where he doesn't take the pinfall, they could maybe have him drop it that way if needed. But it does sort of feel like the title will be, held up until he, loses the ROH belt.
Yeah. And also, I feel like he's a big enough star where they might even want to do something at Wrestle Kingdom with him and the strong title. So potentially you could do something there. Maybe by then he loses the ROH belt and then he could do a cool match at the Tokyo Dome.
I almost feel like there's more cachet in defending the ROH title, like maybe as a dual thing, or I don't know.
Yeah, we've seen the ROH title in past years defended at the Tokyo Dome. So yeah, he could do a double title match. So after that matchup, we had the team of Sonata and Yuya Uemura of Just Five Guys. They went to a 20-minute time limit draw with Hiromu Takahashi and Tetsuya Naito.
Uemura, the guy from Impact?
Yeah, the Joe Hendry's tag team partner.
Yeah, what's he doing here?
Since you've been gone, the Heat Storm, Yuya Uemura, he's back from excursion. He's the fifth man in Just Five Guys.
I don't know if you heard, but they said that nickname Heat Storm is literally coined to be the opposite of Cold Skull.
Interesting. No, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
And there has been some interactions between Sonata and Uemura. Clearly, Uemura wants to be the world champion. It kind of reminds me of a Jay White in Chaos kind of situation. Maybe not as like heelish as that, but Uemura, he wants to wrestle all the guys in Just Five Guys. He has clear intentions to want to be world champion. Very similar to Jay, kind of wanting interfaction matches and was gunning for Okada at the time. So kind of interesting alignment there.
Well, I mean, that's not that far off from what we saw with Yota Tsuji when he first arrived in LIJ. And there seems, not that there's inner turmoil, but there's definitely a competitive drive between him and Naito and Shingo as to like who is the top dog in that group.
Yeah. These guys, they wrestled here to a 20-minute draw. Also, this is a preview match for the Tokyo Dome. Sonata's going to be defending the title against Tetsuya Naito. I thought it was fine. We had T-shirt Naito here.
Fine.
I'm not super excited about Naito and Sonata at the Tokyo Dome. You had T-shirt Naito. This was almost like a house show kind of style tag team match. I mean, Yuya was probably the one who looked the best out of these four guys, and
I'm looking at cage match. It looks like this is a 3 1/4 special.
Yeah, and 20 minutes of it.
Oh man.
I could have done without this match, but also you want to get your LIJ representation. Naito's a huge star. You want to build excitement for the Tokyo Dome, but I don't really think this match accomplished that. And we had a question from Def Triangle 720. He says, with the recent preview matches between Sonata and Naito, does it feel like there's a holding pattern with no new development in the story?
As somebody who's watched all of them and is an authority on the feud, I will say yes, you're correct.
Well, it's pretty much been what happened here. These guys have been wrestling in a lot of tag time limit draws on tours. They had one last week on the Power Struggle or Power Struggle tour. So essentially, there really hasn't been anybody getting the advantage over anybody. They did have the match at there was a tag match at Royal Quest 3 where Naito's team won, and post match, Naito threw Sonata out like he was a jobber out of the ring. So yeah, they're just not doing a ton right now to really amp this up. Like I was saying, I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago. I feel like they should really try to make this a more personal, heat-filled rivalry. But instead, it's kind of the goofy. Naito has a tote bag. Sonata's not showing any fire. Yeah.
You made it sound worse now.
Yeah, I mean,
bro, it's a good thing we don't work for the company. Could you imagine trying to hype this shit up? Like, Ugh.
I mean, if Barney wants to cut a check, I'll change my tune real quick.
So you don't understand the deep ties between Sonata and Naito. His pareja.
Yes, lots of lore there between these guys. But yeah, they're not doing a ton of these preview matches, and man, we still got some time till January. Sonata's not defending the title at Power Struggle. It's gonna be a preview mania of tag matches for these guys until January.
Do you remember last year when the main event was Okada and Jay White, and we were like, damn, Jay White's nowhere to be seen. This sucks. They should be building this up. Blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
This year it's going to feel like, damn, they're doing a lot of Sonata and Naito. They should probably calm the fuck down.
Sonata should probably just take, November, December off.
Did you ever hear about when Ronnie Garvin was the champion and he beat Ric Flair?
I think I've heard Dave talking about that.
So basically, long story short, Ronnie Garvin was a very popular upper mid-carder that they did a impromptu title switch and had him win the belt from Flair before Starrcade. And like the fans rejected it like wholeheartedly. Like they saw this guy as a really good chaser, but they did not see him as like an actual championship material. And like the reactions were so bad to him as a babyface and everything that they took him off the tour like the entire like last month and a half.
Damn.
before he went to Chicago and dropped the belt back to Flair at Starrcade. Like maybe they should just go that route with Sonata. You know what I mean? Like, take a break, rest up. And maybe they should just have them like do training videos like they're Brett and Sean before WrestleMania 12. That's all we need to see. We don't need to see them wrestle,
Right, yeah, just get footage of the LIJ dojo, the Just Five Guys dojo. Just have Sonata do a 2-month media tour around the world.
He's better at that than he is at other stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. So Hiromu is also the DDT Iron Man 24/7 champion. So after this match, Dane Limelight ran out on the stage to try and pin Hiromu. He had his own ref, got some near falls, but Hiromu scrambled off to the backstage where I believe he lost the title to an iPhone 14.
Yeah, he got beat by a phone. That's like top notch from Ghetto. He's like, all right, well, if Hiromu's gonna lose it, it's not gonna beat any of your fucking crusty ass wrestlers. I'll let him lose to a phone.
Yeah, Hiromu should have got some tips from Ibushi. Remember when he was out here moonsaulting on the phones?
No,
you don't remember that? Like he would like set his phone up on the ground, and, like do the moonsault onto the phone.
No. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I forgot which match it was, but like he was like training and coming back, and then he had the phone in his ring.
Yo, real quick, since he's here, this man fucking Hiromu, since Best of the Super Juniors, has worked Tradition, he's worked Noah, he's worked All Japan, He's worked fucking Ring of Honor, Dragon Gate, Glate, Freedom, CMLL, like literally everywhere, bro. Like Michinoku Pro, DDT. This dude has been all over. And some of these matches he's had on paper are dream matches, Junior fight Hayato and fucking Yamato and different people like that. He wrestled Mystico, and you'd be looking at it and thinking like, damn, this dude, during the G1, he didn't take any time off. He got out there and was about it. Except for all these matches fucking suck. They're all 3-star specials. What the fuck is Hiromu doing?
He's mailing it in, man.
Like, yeah, I don't get it. Like, if you're gonna go and wrestle Mystico and Rising Hayato and all that shit, like, why isn't he having good matches? And why isn't he defending the title? He's at like 6 defenses and it's been a year.
Bro,
should have been like defending this shit.
I was like a little shocked, like at the 3-way with him, Yo and Speedball, and Charlton's like, yeah, this is 6th defense or whatever. I was like, what?
and by all accounts, that match wasn't anything that you'd expect it to be either. So like, it's so crazy because by the time the Super Juniors was over, it felt like Hiromu was like a Wrestler of the Year candidate, and it feels like the drop off and the apathy has like, it's a stark drop off since May.
Yeah, I feel like he had his Super Juniors, and he's like, all right, I'm good for the rest of the year. I'm just gonna go around in Japan, have some gentleman threes. I'll throw some junior festivals in Japan and America, just have some fun matchups, and that's what he's been doing.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, if him working all these other places are like the make good for letting these companies be part of the junior festival. Like, you send your guys to us for the festival, and then Hiromu will come work a show for you guys.
Yeah, and maybe that's the case. Yeah,
but I mean, like he's topping out at 3.5, which is okay, I guess. But it's like, you're working some of the top aces and top names of all these different companies around the world. You would think that he'd be going out there and putting on bangers, and we'd be talking about all these excursion of the match contenders. This dude, bro, none of these matches are getting nominated, period. Like, they're not up there.
No, yeah. So then that took us to the main event of this show. It was for the never open weight title. The Dragon, Shingo Takagi, defeats Tama Tonga to become the new never champion, 3rd time for Shingo Takagi.
Well, it appears, someone decided that Shingo as champion again is what's best for business, and I can't disagree.
Yeah, Takagi time, baby. So this was all playing up from their G1 match. They had the 20-minute time limit draw. In the G1, Shingo challenged Tama after his match at Royal Quest 3. So that's how we got here. And, they were questioning, will these guys be able to go past, the time limit? Of course, they had our time limit here. But very good back and forth. Another hard-hitting match on this show. Lots of great near falls. Shingo hit a gun stun of his own. That was pretty cool for a near fall. But yeah, these guys kind of exchanged a lot of their big signature moves, and towards the end here, Shingo killed Tama Tonga with a great pumping bomber. He's the Noshigami gory bomb made in Japan, hitting all the big stuff. Tama tried to come back with Tongan twist and his big implant DDT move, but Shingo overpowered him and eventually got him up for the last of the Dragon and got the win. And he is the new champ. So Tama loses in his first defense. Shingo, 3rd-time champ. After the match, he gets the mic, cutting a promo, saying it's his time. Fans chant, "You deserve it." And Shingo's asking who's next. He asks anybody in the back to come out. Nobody comes out. He says, fine, maybe I'll wait till I go to Japan. But then the lights go out and a video plays on the Tron, and it is Trent Beretta of AEW. He challenges Shingo for the title at Lonestar Shootout.
How do you think he knew?
Well, he didn't say any names. He just said, you, me, title, Texas. Now that was kind of what he said. He never called out Shingo specifically. So had Tama won, the video would have played and it would have made sense.
Who did he have to pay to get them to play that video, you think? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, he's friends with Rocky. I mean, that's Chaos, best friends.
That's who it fucking was. Rocky. That sly dog.
He's like, bro, Trent, just do a video. Don't say names. I'll get you a towel shot. We'll play it after the main. You either get Shingo or Tama in Texas. It'll be all good.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm looking on Cage Match. It looks like this was easily the match of the night. Biggest complaint I see is just the length of the match and maybe some of the slower work in the early portions of the match. But overall, it looks like this was about like a 4-star match and probably match of the night.
Yeah, like 4.25. I think it definitely could have cut down time a little bit, especially coming after that 20-minute time limit draw. I mean, overall, the show with the pre-show was like 4 hours. So yeah, by this point in the show, it's like, all right, like let's wrap this thing up. I think if they had cut like the 20-minute draw with Naito and Sonata, and maybe like, I don't know, cut the Atlantis match or another match, like I feel like this show could have been a little bit shorter, but overall, yeah, Shingo Tama Tonga, I would say, yeah, was the match of the night. Great hard-hitting action there. Shingo back as Never Champ, and we had some questions here. Rainbow and Sam Pig, were you surprised that the Never title flipped so quickly? Does Shingo winning that reduce the likelihood of a tag league victory for Tsuji?
I would say, yeah, it probably does, but I don't think it completely eliminates that prospect.
Yeah, agree with you. I was a little surprised Shingo won, but I mean, if we run the stats, I know the Never title is usually a title that flips hands very quickly off the first defense, so that's not so surprising. But I mean, Tama did just win it back. But yeah, very happy Shingo won, and yeah, I agree with you. It does kind of lower the chance of him and Tsuji winning World Tag League. He also asked, it seems that there have been more AEW talents becoming involved in NJPW storylines this fall. Trent, Moxley, Claudio, Danielson, and Kingston are all in the mix. Will this lead to too much outside involvement at Wrestle Kingdom?
I don't think so, because ultimately, the amount of people that are going to be allowed to work Wrestle Kingdom is going to be dependent on what AEW allows for their talents to cross over. And typically January 4th, falls right around the time of one of the biggest, that first big AEW Dynamite of the year. And there's a lot of big names that they can't, afford to not have on the show. So I'm not thinking that I do think that there will be some involvement, but I'm not concerned that you're going to see 5 or 6 dudes from AEW, populating the show or anything like that.
Yeah, and January 4th is a Thursday this year, so I mean, you have Dynamite the Wednesday before. Like, will people be able to get to Japan in time? Maybe, I don't think a bunch of people.
No.
A bunch of people can't miss Dynamite. So, yeah, I think we'll get maybe 1 or 2 kind of big matchups, and then that'll be it.
I agree.
We had a similar question here from Death Triangle about Tsuji and Shingo winning World Tag League. Then Les Commission 72x2 says, with Shingo winning against Tama, same thing here. Do we see Shingo and Tsuji in Tag League? And if they do, still win it? If not, would you like the idea of Tsuji facing Sabre at Wrestle Kingdom for the NJPW World TV belt and win, since Sabre had already defeated Narita and Umino?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I definitely think that they should start thinking about Zack Sabre dropping that title potentially. And I would like it for it to be one of the younger talents in the company, since that was the purpose of and intent of the belt to begin with. It'd be fine if it's Tsuji. Obviously, I'm a Tsuji guy, and so if it were up to me, that's what I would do, especially since it looks like Umino might be busy. But who knows? Maybe hypothetically, maybe you go back to Narita a year later, where he first dropped the ball against Sabre. Maybe you run that back and he finally, beats him.
Yeah, and the kind of story that they've been telling on commentary on this Power Struggles tour is Narita's kind of been the odd man out as far as like early big showcase matches, and now Umino's challenging Ospreay again. Tsuji just had the Ospreay match, and these guys, Tsuji and Umino are having big title matches against big opponents. Tsuji faced Sonata, and Narita really hasn't had. I mean, the Sabre match is probably the quote unquote biggest match he's had since coming back from Excursion. So yeah, you could have him kind of get back to square one there, beat Sabre, and then try to catch up to Umino and Tsuji. Let's see. Next question's here from Def Triangle 720. With the Fighting Spirit Unleashed show finished, did either of you feel like the show just lacked any importance?
Well, I didn't watch the show, but I can tell you right now, from the outside looking in, the show looks good on paper. It looks like it was probably pretty entertaining, but with the fact that there were very few like blowaway matches, and it's a 4-hour show, and there are some things that further New Japan storylines, but they're all pretty low level. Aside from what happened in the main event, it doesn't seem to be like something that was can't miss.
Yeah, there was not a ton of buzz online for the show. I mean, it started at 10 p.m. Eastern time. The show was in Las Vegas, smaller building, not a ton of huge matches really advertised. Plus, it's Saturday night. A lot of wrestling fans are watching Collision, Kenny versus MJF, and then plus you got college football.
It's also the Saturday before Halloween.
Yeah.
That I was out.
Yeah, I was out, so I didn't watch this show live. I watched it the next day. So
yeah, where were you, by the way?
I was Water Street.
What is that?
This place close by Channelside. They had this like water art installation thing where it made it feel like you were like walking underwater.
Yeah, I saw it. It looked cool, bro. How come you never invite me to this shit? Like, what the fuck?
It was just a double date, man. Just me and the lady, or just not double date, just a date, just me and the lady.
I was gonna say, just you and your wife is not a double date.
So yeah, just
it could have been a double date.
It could have been, yeah. But yeah, just me and the lady doing something fun.
Mm-hmm.
So next question here, Les Commission 72. Actually, no, another question from Death Triangle says, do you guys think it'd be smart for New Japan to cut the US shows down to 5 big shows, or cut the US shows completely and focus on the Japanese market in 2024?
It's hard to say because I don't know the inner workings of the business relationship necessarily between New Japan Strong and New Japan. I think some of the comments that Rocky made during the interview on our show was very interesting. It almost seemed and sounded like he was alluding to the idea that New Japan Strong is a separate business entity, which at the time was very, kind of got my attention. So it's hard to say what New Japan should be doing in this market moving forward. It's hard for me to tell them what the keys to success are. But I mean, if it was in a perfect world, I think that if they were able to just run a couple big shows with high level production value and they could draw large crowds, that would be ideal. Something similar, like remember the Chicago show with the 4-way where Juice won the title? Yeah,
Capital. I think, or was that Capital Collision?
Oh, that was Capital Collision. I'm thinking of the other one. When Mox wrestled Ospreay in Chicago.
Windy City Riot.
The Windy City Riot. That was a show that had like very good production and drew pretty well. But I would like to see them in buildings like that as opposed to like, with these strong shows like 800. That's cool, but I just for me personally as a fan, I'd be more excited to see them do bigger level production shows.
Yeah, and I think too, like one of the cool things about New Japan coming to America was you didn't get it very often. There was a novelty of like, oh man, like New Japan's coming to America like a few times a year. Like I have to be there or I'm not gonna ever like see them live. I have to go to Japan to like watch them live. So I get like them wanting to do multiple shows and really break into the market. But I'm almost wondering if they should kind of go back to the old tactic. They only come over here a couple of times a year, and it's like I said, bigger shows. It's like, all right, we're coming to these 3 cities this year. That's it. Like, if you want to see New Japan or America, you have to be here. We're going to run a bigger building, better production. It's going to be, Will Ospreay, Okada, Naito in the main event of these shows.
I mean, yeah, when the big names are involved, there's a lot more prestige and importance, and they do better business. And, from a fan perspective, I like that better. But again, I don't know what the inner workings of the business side of all this is to begin with.
Yeah. Next question here from Les Commission 7252. Did y'all moan in sorrow as well about Joey Janela coming to New Japan?
It's fine. I'll be honest. I like Joey Janela. I'm not like a GCW fiend or anything like that, but like, I think sometimes when he does comedy matches, it's funny, and he does the death match shit. And, to me, do I want to see Joey Janela in New Japan proper? No, but like, I kind of don't think of New Japan Strong as New Japan anymore, really. To me, it's New Japan of America. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that with some of the guys they've booked and some of the style matches they've done. So yeah, I'm fine with Joey being on Strong. Then Def Triangle 720 says, with Super Junior Tag League, how do you feel about the tournament so far? So that will take us into our talking about Super Junior Tag League. And I feel so far, like I mentioned at the top of the show, it's been a very fast paced tournament. We got 3 shows left. I feel like there's been a show every day for this tour. But yeah, I mean, it's been a fun tour to watch, but it's just been a very fast paced tour.
Yeah, honestly, that's part of the reason why I'm so far behind is because I already had the 2 big shows that I hadn't seen. And then, to get back in the swing of things with work and, studies and life and everything like that. And then it's like, Junior Tag League, Junior Tag League, Junior Tag League, Junior. It's like, oh, shit. Like, I can't do this.
Yeah. I don't know what they were thinking with this these tournament dates. Yeah, and the last 3 shows are all, this week before Power Struggle. So by the time you're hearing this, there'll be another show happening. So we'll go through the rankings here. I'll list the matches for each team, and then just kind of give my quick thoughts on how I feel each team has been doing thus far, kind of any story elements I've noticed in the tournament. So first team here that's in first place as of this recording, El Desperado and Master Wato. They have 10 points. They are 5-1. Night 2, they lost to Musashi and Yo. And then they went on a winning streak from there. Night 3, defeating Bushi and Teton. Night 4, defeating Ichiban Sweet Boys. Night 5, they defeated the champions of Clark Connors and Drill Maloney. And then night 6, they defeated the former champs, the Jet Setters.
So I listened to a little bit of last week's show, and you mentioned at the beginning of the tour that Desperado, and I missed all this, but it seems like there's an alliance between Team Nagata and Team Strong Style. And now Wato and Desperado are sort of coexisting. But you'd mentioned last week that it was still very much like a tentative. There was like a, not mutually respect between the 2 guys. How has that progressed throughout the tour? Is it still kind of, the same, or has anything changed?
Yeah, so that's pretty much been the story of these guys. Like, Wato really wants Desperado's respect. He wants to team with them. He has a team T-shirt that every night he tries to get Despy to wear. Despy doesn't want to wear it. There were some nights where like Wato's music would play first, and Despy wouldn't want to come out to Wato's music. He would wait till his music plays. So there's kind of been this kind of weird dynamic between them. But then it seems like after they lost to Yo and Musashi, they really started clicking more and kind of building more of a chemistry in their tag matches. And Wato really trying to prove himself to Desperado and being there to make saves for Despy or getting the pinfall in some of these matches. So they've really kind of gelled together in ring as a team, but outside, like, Despy doesn't want to wear the shirt. He doesn't want to come out to Wato's music. the night's what show was it? The night 5 show. There was a spot where he got his mask ripped off, and he ended up having to wear the shirt over his face to cover up his mask being off. So in a way, he kind of finally wore the shirt there. But
the relationship reminds me of the one that we have on this show.
Really? So who's Despy? Who's Watto?
I'm Despy. You're Watto. You're always working for my respect. No, I'm just playing. Looking at, again, I'm just kind of looking at cage match. It doesn't look like there's been too many like standout matches from this tournament, realistically.
Yeah, most of the matches are like your 3.5 to 3.75 range. Probably a few 4-star notebook matchups. From this run, from these guys, I really like Despy and Watto against Bushi and Teton from night 3. That was a really fun matchup there. Them against Ichiban Sweet Boys, that was another fun matchup. And another story element here is that these guys have pretty much been in the main event most of this tour. So night 3 through 6 was all them in the main event and winning in the main event.
Yeah, it looks like from what I'm seeing, the match with Drill Maloney and Clark Connors is the second highest rated match of the tournament at 7.73. And it looks like the top rated match right now would be Drill Maloney and Clark Connors against Catch 2-2.
Yeah, I would pretty much agree with that. And Watto and Despy, so they beat the champions, night 5, War Dogs. So to me, that makes me feel like these guys are not winning the tournament.
Possibly. I mean, I think that they have a really good shot just based on the name value and the fact that obviously they just came out of that best of 7 series. And this is sort of still a stopgap between whatever's next for Desperado and Watto beyond just teaming together. But, it is sort of like when you put two major singles guys together, they stand a good chance to win in a tournament like this. But normally I'd agree with you because I'm assuming your logic is that they beat the champions. So, they don't need to win the tournament. Yeah, they're already entitled to a title shot. But my only thing with that is like the junior tag titles don't always follow that sort of logic that you'd expect to see coming out of like a G1.
Yeah, and I know last year they didn't do a multi-man match. Like they did a straight up Catch 2-2 versus Leo Rush and Yo, even though Catch 2-2 had lost to some teams in the tournament last year. So that they could go the straight up tag, but I just feel like these guys have become so dominant. They beat the champions. I think they'll get to the finals, but I feel like a team that they've beaten already in this tournament is going to come back and beat them in the finals.
Is this a single block tournament?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. To me, looking on paper, I feel like they're the favorites, but I can't argue with your logic there. That would make the most sense. Yeah. Do you know who is still alive and who's out? Are we at that point in the tournament?
Yeah, so there's only 3 nights left. So each team has 3 matches left. So obviously these guys are still in the running here. And there's a lot more teams that are still in the running, and we can go through them as we get to each team. So the second place team, obviously that's still in the running here with 8 points. The 4-2 is Sho and Yoshinobu Kanemaru of the House of Torture. Night 2, they defeated the Jet Setters. Night 3, they defeated Doki and Taka. Night 4, they defeated Musashi and Yo. Night 5, they lost to Ichiban Sweet Boys. And then night 6, they defeated Taguchi and DKC. So essentially, it's been the full play of House of Torture shenanigans in all their matches. Evil, Yujiro, and Nick Togo, the whole crew has pretty much been involved in every match. It's been some kind of ref bump. These guys run out, beat up the opponents. You got Kanemaru doing the whiskey spray, hitting people with the bottle. So the wrench, you're getting all the shenanigans mixed up in all their matches, and that's how it's actually paying off for them here. It's not backfiring like usual. So that's how they've been able to get to 4-2 at this point in the tournament. Well,
Kanemaru always seemed to have Sho's number when it came to tournament matches. So, maybe he's kind of guiding young Show in the ways of the master heeldom. Has Kanemaru like reverted back to his Suzuki-gun terrible tendencies and just kind of like phoning it in?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, they're jumping guys from the bell. Show's been cutting promos on people before the bell, but most of this tour has been Japanese commentary, so I have no idea what the heck he's been saying. But they're jumping people. You have All Evil, Yujiro, they're coming out. There's a name now for Dick Togo's chop when they spread the legs open. He does a chop from the top. It's called the Devil's Chop. So he's doing that to all the opponents. So
that sucks. This sounds horrible.
Yeah, I would say that the one match out of them that was kind of fun was Night 2 against the Jet Setters. It was in Corkin Hall. So you got some smart fans there. They were kind of playing along with the heat. And, I mean, Kevin Knight was just, like, literally just jumping all over the place, like, jumping, dodging all their stuff. And so that one was a kind of a fun matchup. But everything else has just kind of been meh. I'm
surprised you didn't say Musashi and Yo.
Well, yeah, there was some talk about that matchup. So in that match, Kanemaru was going to try and do the whiskey, but then Yo grabbed the whiskey and he put it in his mouth, and then Sho was trying to stop Yo from spitting the whiskey, and then Yo decided, I'm going to kiss Sho and exchange the whiskey in his mouth through a kiss, wrestled him down to the mat and kissed him and got all the whiskey in his mouth from there.
I'm so revolted at that idea.
COVID was not too long ago, and these guys are.
I saw that and it made me sick. And it's not a homophobe thing or anything. I can't stand the idea of making out with somebody with a bunch of fucking shit in their mouth, like
and the backwash and exchange.
Hell no! Oh, that is so disgusting, bro. That is so disgusting. Wait, like you're gonna spit it into their mouth, they're gonna spit in your mouth. Like, I think you can tell right now. There's certain what's the word for that? Like fetish stuff that I'm not into. Like, the exchange of fluids in the mouth. Whoa, God, no, that's horrible.
Yeah, this spot wasn't for me. We have a question from Hawaiian Punch BV. He says, "Show, Yo, top 5 wrestling kisses."
I don't even know what I think. Like, I've never, as somebody who has categorized a lot of things when it comes to, why are you laughing?
Because it's funny. Like, yeah,
why would I categorize wrestling kisses? Here's one thing I will say though. I remember when AJ Lee used to like make out with dudes on WWE TV, and I'm no prude, but I remember thinking like, this is a fucking kid show. What the hell are you doing? Bro, should be sucking their fucking faces off and just going like in hard and nasty. It's gross.
Yeah, that whole was that her Punk, Kane, and Bryan, all those dudes. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him. And then Dolph Ziggler.
Oh yeah. Barry Wall says, was that the worst spot that they've ever done together in a match, and did Karen love it? What the actual ...
I don't know. I haven't talked to Karen about it.
Yeah, I'll have to. Yeah, we'll have to see what she thought. I know she loves Sho and Yo, but yeah,
we used to be a proper country. This is some fucking DDT-ism hardcore.
Yeah. So yeah, that's been Sho and Kanemaru. They're still alive with 8 points, so they're at play. Like I said, that the antics have been working for them, so they could potentially squeak their way into a finals here.
Oh, so you're House of Torture. You can't count them out for nothing right now.
Yeah. And then the other team in second place is the other Bullet Club team, the Bullet Club War Dogs, the current junior tag team champions, Clark Connors and Drilla Maloney. So they're also 8 points, 4-2. Night 2, they defeated Catch 2-2. Night 3, they lost to the Jet Setters. Night 4, they defeated Bushi and Teton. Night 5, losing to Desperado and Wato. And then night 6, they defeated Doki and Taka.
My only feelings about where they stand right now is I don't think it would be a good idea to have them in the finals unless you want them to win the finals, because it's never fun to have the champions go to the finals and then lose to somebody that they already wrestled in the same tournament, and then they got to turn around and defend the titles against them. So then you get 3 matches back to back to back. That's always overkill.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be, just looking at the rest of the teams, I think there's going to be a lot of teams that end up being 6-3. And so I could see them being one of the teams being 6-3. And then they have 12 points, but because of the tiebreakers or whatever, that they don't make it to the finals and then don't win the tournament. So on paper, it still looks like, they had a great tournament points wise, but then they don't have to win the tournament or even be in the finals.
That makes sense. It looks like they're having one of the stronger tournaments of anybody performance wise in terms of match quality.
Yeah, I mean, these guys have really gelled together well. The team, powerhouse team. The full clip finisher has been cool. Also, the Drilla Killer pile driver from Maloney is awesome. And yeah, these guys are having hard hitting, bruising matchups. And yeah, there has been some cheating and shenanigans, but they're still having really good matches. And, people who talk about, complaining about how the torture and why don't you like them and they're cheating and blah, blah, blah. It's like, if you're going to cheat, do it this. I like what Connors and Drilla are doing. They're still going out there. It feels like they're actually having a wrestling match. They're actually trying to wrestle and win and compete. And the last second, they're kind of sliding the ref away, getting his, turning the ref's attention. It's not always a ref bump. They're doing almost kind of like Ric Flair-y kind of stuff where he's kind of positioning himself to be able to cheat and get the advantage, or just even wrestle a more aggressive style to get the heat. And so that's been a lot more enjoyable to watch than, Evil and all his goons running around in circles and doing all their shenanigans. So these guys still alive right now. Like I said, I think they're going to end up being 6-3. So then that takes us to the Jet Setters, Kushida and Kevin Knight, who are currently at 6 points, or 3-3. Night 2, they lost to House of Torture. Night 3, they defeated the War Dogs. Night 4, defeating Taguchi and DKC. Night 5, they lost to Bushi and Teton. And Night 6, they lost to Desperado and Wato.
Yeah. Don't really have too many thoughts here. I'm just, it goes back to the same thing we always talk about, where it's like, the fuck's going on with Kushida?
Yeah, kind of interesting booking with him, but I do feel like the Jet Setters are going to be one of the teams that are at 6 that could potentially win their last 3 and come back and be 6-3 and get 12 points. They did beat the champions on night 3, and we've seen the rivalry kind of between them and War Dogs. They lost a tag title match. What was that, in Ryogoku? So there's been a rivalry between these guys this year. They failed to win the titles a few weeks ago. They beat the champions here non-title. So I think that kind of sets them up to potential to win their last 3, get 12 points, and get into the finals. But yeah, they've been having fun matches. Kevin Knight is a blast to watch. This guy's always flipping and jumping super high. I love listening to Milano marking out to him in the Japanese commentary. So yeah, they've been a fun team.
Is there no English?
For the last 3 or 4 shows, there has not been English. I think the first 3 I think were English, and then there has not been English yet. I know that Walker Stewart has recorded English commentary for these shows that will be up eventually, but
by himself?
Yeah.
Dang. Throwing him into the deep end.
Yeah. As of this recording, none of his work for these shows were up yet. Earlier on the tour, they did have, it was Charlton. He did like the first 3 shows, and Hanare was his commentator for those shows. The other team here that's 6 points, 33 is the Catch 2-2, TJP and Francesco Akira. So they lost to the War Dogs on night 2. They lost to Musashi and Yo night 3. Then night 4, they defeated Doki and Taka. Night 5, defeated Taguchi and DKC. And night 6, they lost to Bushi and Teton. So they've been having really great matchups, but just have not been winning all their matches. And telling a story here, TJP has some kind of neck injury, and so that's been harming them when they try to do the leaning tower, because he's the one that holds the guy up in the electric chair position, and then Akira comes off with the cutter off the top. And so several times in some of these matches, they've tried to go for the leaning tower and not been able to do it. TJP would fall down, sell the neck. So it seems like they, previously the story with these guys has always kind of been like, TJP's obviously, he's a veteran. He's kind of calling the plays, and he's the one that's really leading the team to victory. Well, now it seems like Akira's been the one that's kind of had to carry the team on his back here, and TJP's the one that's kind of eating the falls. It's because of his neck injury while they're losing. And then the times they do win, Akira's the one that's getting the pinfall most of the times they have won so far in the tournament.
Well, catch 2-2. I think they're one of the premier teams of the division, and they still have a chance to be one of the finalists.
Yeah, there's a similar spot with Jet Setters where, if they win their last 3, they could end up with 12 points and get back into the finals. And another team in that position is the Ichiban Sweet Boys, our good friend Robbie Eagles and Kosei Fujita. Night 2, they defeated Doki and Taka. Night 3, they lost to Taguchi and DKC. Night 4, they lost to Desperado and Wato. Night 5, they defeated Sho and Kanemaru. Night 6, they defeated Musashi and Yo.
So this is, obviously the return of Kosei Fujita. How have the crowds been reacting to him, and what's been your opinion?
Yeah, I think the crowd, they have really been into him being back and teaming with Robbie. He's been getting good reactions. He's been wrestling really good. He has been eating it a lot, though. He's been doing these tope conhilos, and there was the Corkin one. He almost flew himself into. There's no guardrails because of the junior tournament, and so he was almost into somebody in the first row. The show I watched this morning, they did not catch him well. He hit the mat pretty hard in the tope. Besides that, I think he's been looking good. Like I said last week, he's wrestling a little bit more like Robbie Eagles versus Zack Sabre. So he's been doing a lot more high flying versus a lot more the holds he would do when he would team with Sabre. So yeah, I think he's been looking good.
Nice.
And yeah, they're similar spot as Jet Setters and Catch 2-2, 3-3. So if they win their last 3, similar situation, they can end up in the finals here. And yeah, I'm still kind of questioning, is Fujita fully graduated or not? He does kind of have somewhat of a new look. But yeah, they haven't really made that distinction yet. I don't know if he's going to be staying in Japan after this tour is over, or if he's going to go back to Australia and do more dates with Robbie.
It would feel like a pretty short-lived, quote-unquote, excursion if that's what they're aiming to do. But then again, they did say they wanted to kind of fast-track some of these younger guys here, so I don't know.
Yeah. Question here from Rainbow and Slam Pig. What are your thoughts on the performance of Kosei Fujita to this point in the tournament? I am really impressed and see big things in his future. What should be next for him? Well, I think establishing him in this team with Robbie is a good way to kind of get him started and get him going. You could easily have them win the junior tag titles at some point next year, and then you kind of break him off from there. Then next up, we have Bushi and Teton. They're sitting at 4 points, so they're 2-3. So if they were to win their last 3, they would be 5-3, which I don't think is going to end up cutting. I mean, that would put them at 10. So if other people are coming in with 12, that's going to bump them up. I guess technically they're still in it, depending on how the rest of the teams shake out. But I don't think that they're going to get through with 10 points.
But they're 3-3. They've still got.
They're 2-3.
Oh, my apologies. Yeah. Anybody from Bushi and Teton on, all those teams are they're eliminated.
Yeah.
Essentially, unless, I mean, I guess there could be like a miracle, like you mentioned, because it is a single block, but it doesn't seem like
Actually,
points.
they're they're 2-4 because everybody's had 6 matches so far. So yeah, they're
like done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless, hold on, because I did win today's show. Let me see if I got double check the rankings here.
Wouldn't be the first time we got something wrong on this show.
Yeah, well, man, it's been hard keeping up with this tour and who has what points.
I know, trust me.
So yeah, hold on, let me pull up here and just double check to see where they're at, because they could be 3-3 because they did win this morning's show. Let's see here, going over to F4W. All right, let's see. Super Junior stand. Okay, so yeah, correction. So yeah, they won today's show, so that put them. So they're 3-3. So they're also at 6 points. So they're in a similar situation with Jet Setters, Catch 22, and Ichiban Sweet Boys.
Okay. Either way, I think that it's highly unlikely that the remaining teams are going to have a shot at placing it all.
Yeah. And for these guys, they lost to Taguchi and DKC night 2. They lost to Desperado and Wato night 3. They lost to the War Dogs on night 4. And then they came back the last 2 matches, defeating the Jet Setters on night 5 and defeating Catch 22 this morning. Teton, I feel like he's been really great in this tour. He's been a standout, also between him and Bushi, but they've been really gelling together well as a team. But yeah, Teton, he's been doing a lot of really cool lucha stuff in his matches. Like I said, the Despy and Wato match was a lot of fun. Man, Teton, he's so dynamic. I wish he was a guy. I wish he would have won Super Juniors, and I wish he would be the junior champion, champion right now. I feel like we would get some really cool defenses with Teton as champion right now.
That's funny.
But yeah, so they can potentially be in the running here if they win their last 3. So that brings us to the last 3 teams here, which they're pretty much all out. We have Ryusuke Taguchi and the DKC. They're sitting at 4 points, 2 wins and 4 losses. So night 2, they defeated Bushi and Teton. They defeated Ichiban Sweet Boys night 3, and then they lost to Jet Setters on night 4, lost to Catch 22 on night 5, and lost to House of Torture night 6. So it's been your typical kind of Taguchi kind of antics here with him and DKC. Beginning of the tour, it was Taguchi trying to teach DKC, his plays and stuff like that. They've been doing some, funny kind of karate double team combos together. But yeah, it's been kind of just the goofy, lighthearted. Most of the time, they're the first tournament match of the evening. So yeah, it is what you kind of expect when you think of what Taguchi and DKC would be.
I know exactly what that would be, and I don't have to see it to know.
Then after that, Yo and Musashi, they're also at 4 points, 2-4. Night 2, defeating Desperado and Wato. Night 3, they defeated Catch 22. Night 4, lost to House of Torture. Night 5, lost to Doki and Taka. And then night 6, they lost to Ichiban Sweet Boys. So yeah, Musashi coming in from Michinoku Pro. Him and Yo used to, be high school friends in amateur wrestling. Musashi replacing Leo Rush here. I think he's been fine. To me, he really hasn't stood out to me where I'm like, man, New Japan should sign him. They should bring him back. He's just kind of been a good hand to me in this tournament. He's no replacement for Leo Rush.
Yeah, when I heard that Musashi was in this, I was like, Musashi from K1, the karate fighter? It's incredible. And then I found out it was a different Musashi who I've never heard of or seen. So I don't really know. He's an unknown commodity to me, aside from, I know he was at the All-Star Junior Festival, but that shit came and went. That's a whirlwind. I don't even remember who was on that show.
Yeah, I mean, they call him the future of Michinoku Pro. Apparently he's their ace in the making. But I don't know. He's been fine. I mean, he's been good. Like, he hasn't been bad at all. But to me, like, in this tournament, he just hasn't stood out. And when you're given the opportunity to compete for New Japan, you think you want to make the most of it. But yeah, he's just been kind of there for me. And of course, teaming with Yo, and I don't know what it is with Yo. I feel like I guess him and Leo is where the magic is at, and nobody else. So yeah, and kind of surprising how much they've been losing too. And a lot of times when they're losing, it's not always Musashi that's eating the pinfall. Yo has ate some of the falls here in some of their losses.
Good.
So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see what they're gonna end up doing with these guys. Then the last team here, Doki and Taka Michinoku. So they're sitting at 2 points. They're 1-5. They lost to Ichiban Sweet Boys night 2, lost to House of Torture night 3, lost to Catch 2-2 night 4, got their first win on night 5 against Musashi and Yo, and then night 6 they lost to the War Dogs. They might be at 2 points, and kayfabe wise, they're losers, but they're probably one of the hardest working teams in this tournament. I don't know.
Bro, I was literally just about to say, like, this, if there's any axe that I have to grind when it comes to the booking of this tournament, it's booking Doki and Taka at the bottom. Because I know there's not a lot of gifts of New Japan that are allowed to persist for any long period of time, but every cool thing that I've seen from this tournament online, it's always Doki and Taka doing raw shit. And like, I'm like, Taka's like out here doing like 1997 shit. Like, it's sick.
Bro, Taka, he's super motivated. I don't know what it is. He's got the Michinoku, the blue, the Kaientai blue on.
It's because Doki had a conversation with him and he's like, we never go back. He's like, you want to go back to Michinoku, bro?
Just
you want to go wrestle in Osaka?
Oh man, but yeah, both of them doing double Asai moonsaults. Their combo moves. They did a super kick into the Suplex de la Luna to get their first win. These guys, they've been working super hard. They've been killing themselves. Like I said, Taka, man, like, this is the best Taka has looked probably since that 2019 Super Juniors where he got hurt. He hurt his ankle. Like, he's been looking really, really good, really motivated. He's been fun to watch. And yeah, this team been working super hard workers, been really fun to watch, but unfortunately, the booking is not playing out for them here.
This is probably the best he's looked since the WWF Light Heavyweight Tournament in 1997 when he was wrestling on Raw's War against Aguila.
Oh man, throwing it back there.
This is the best he's looked since ECW Barely Legal.
Oh man, so yeah, that's where we're at with the junior tag team tournament. I'm just gonna run through the undercard results from these shows, and to kind of maybe talk about any stories there. So night 2, Callum Newman, Great Okan, Hanari defeated Asuka Lube, Red Narita, and Shota Umino. So this whole tour, Narita and Umino have been teaming together, so it definitely seems like they're getting them ready for World Tag League. And then Okan's getting ready for Jon Moxley. At the time, Hanari was getting ready for the Strong title match. Then we had Sanada, Taichi, and Yuyamura. They defeated, actually with a time limit draw against Hiromu, Naito, and Yotsuji. And then we had the NJPW World Television match with Zack Sabre Jr. defending against Oleg Boltin. So that was a fun matchup. It was pretty much Zack just eating up Boltin. Boltin did get a chance to show some power moves and kind of show a little bit of what he had, but I really felt it was Zack kind of really just outclassing him and out wrestling him.
Yeah, that was something I was definitely interested in watching, and I'm kind of looking, at the results, seeing what I need to go back and catch up on, and that didn't seem to be something that got a lot of acclaim, or, not that it needs to be, but it didn't even seem like anyone was really talking about it after the fact. It seemed like there was more buzz going into the match than coming out of it.
Yeah, because everybody's like, oh, what does this mean for Boltin Oleg? Is he going to get is he going to win? Is he going to get, graduate quickly kind of thing. And the match was just kind of there. And Bolton, I think he has a lot of talent. Also, he's a big dude. He has a lot of power. But again, like I was saying last week, I think what I saw here, I'm like, man, I feel like Oscar Lube would have stood out more in a match like that.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, Oscar Lube is a much more seasoned and experienced vet in comparison to Oleg Bolton. I have to imagine, even though I haven't seen the match, I think I probably still want to go and check it out. For a guy that's never had a match go over 10 minutes, this was probably a strong, progression for him.
Yeah. Then night 3, we had Bolton, Oleg, Narita, and Umino defeating Callum Newman, Great Okan, Hinare. Hiromu and Tsuji defeated Gato and Taiji Ishimori. And then Sanada, Taichi, and Yuya defeated Tanahashi, Oscar Lube, and Tomohiro Ishii. Night 4, we had Great Bash Heel, Makabe and Hanuma defeating Oscar Lube and Yuto Nakashima. Narita and Umino defeated Callum Newman and Great Okan. And then Ishii, Yano, and Yoshihashi defeated Dick Togo, Evil, and Yujiro. Night 5, Makabe and Hanuma defeated Tenzan. Makabe, Hanuma, and Tenzan defeated Bolton Oleg, Oscar Lube, and Yuto Nakashima. Ren Narita and Shota Umino defeated Callum Newman and Great Okan. And then Ishii, Yano, and Yoshihashi defeated Dick Togo, Evil, and Yujiro. And then on this morning's show, night 6, the Great Bash Heel and Tenzan defeated Bolton, Oscar Lube, and Yuto Nakashima. Narita and Umino defeated Callum Newman and Great Okan. Ishiyano and Yoshihashi defeated Dick Togo, Evil, and Yujiro. So a lot of similar stuff on the undercards there. And that brings us to the upcoming schedule for the remainder of the Road to Power Struggle Tour.
I'll take it from here, Jeremy. So night 7, we've got Old Bolton, Oscar Luebe, and Yuto Nakashima taking on Great Bash Heel, teaming with Tenzan. Ren Narita and Shota Umino will take on United Empire's Callum Newman and Great Okan. The Chaos team of Ishii, Yano, and Yoshihashi take on the House of Torture team of Dick Togo, Evil, and Yujiro. Getting into tournament action, we've got the Super Junior Tag League, Taguchi and DKC taking on Musashi and Yo. The LIJ team of Bushi and Titan taking on Doki and Taka. Intergalactic Jet Setters taking on Kosei Fujita and Robbie Eagles. House of Torture taking on the Bull Club War Dogs. And then your main event is El Desperado and Master Wato taking on Catch 2-2. On night 8, Narita, Umino, and Hanma take on the United Empire team of Newman, Okan, and Hinare. Geto and Taiji Ishimori take on the LIG team of Hiromu and Yota Tsuji. The Chaos team of Ishii, Yano, and Yoshihashi take on Dick Togo, Evil, and Yujiro. In tournament action, we've got Taguchi and DKC taking on the Bull Club War Dogs. The LIJ tag team taking on Ichiban Sweet Boys. Musashi and Yo taking on the Intergalactic Jet Setters. Semi-main event, Despi and Wato versus Doki and Taka. And then your main event, Catch 2-2 versus the House of Torture. And then finally on night 9, Road to Power Struggle, Bull Club team of Geto and Ishimori matchup against Hiromu and Tsuji. Non-title 6-man tag team match, the Chaos team of Okada, Ishii, and Hiroshi Tanahashi, the reigning never 6-man tag team champions. They'll take on Dick Togo, Evil, and Yujiro. That's a little concerning because it's a non-title match. Could always lead to a title match down the road. Oleg Bolton, Oscar Luebe, Ren Narita, and Shota Umino take on the United Empire team of Newman, Okan, Jeff Cobb, and Will Ospreay. And then finally back to, and this is the final night of regular tournament action, correct?
Yes.
Taguchi and DKC taking on Doki and Taka. Musashi and Yo taking on LIJ. Ichiban Sweet Boys taking on the Bull Club War Dogs. Intergalactic Jet Setters versus Catch 2-2. And then your main event, Despi and Wato versus Sho and Kanemaru. So anything here that is eye-opening that you're looking forward to? And what are your predictions, Jeremy?
Yeah, so I think as you can see from the first tournament matches we were talking about, Taguchi and DKC against Doki and Taka, like they're out. Musashi and Yo against Bushi and Titan, I think they're gonna both be out. And so it's gonna come down to these last 3 matches here. Desperado and Wato in the main event again.
They seem to be in almost all main events and semi-main events.
Yeah. I could see them being spoiled by Sho and Kanemaru.
Do we think that there's a situation where like Sho and Kanemaru beat them and they end up facing one another in the finals again right after that?
You could do that, and then they could get their revenge. I think Catch 2-2 is another team to watch out for against the Jet Setters. Like, I feel like that could be a spot where both teams, if they either one win, they could get to 12 points. So potentially could end up with Catch 2-2 versus House of Torture. Or maybe Despy and Wato just win here and you get them against Catch 2-2.
I think that would probably be the match that the purists would want to see the most out of all the different possibilities.
Yeah, I think that would end up being the best case match, and I feel like they're doing a kind of a comeback story for Catch 2-2. And we know they're kind of rival with Jet Setter, so yeah, I could see them winning that semi-main event to lock their spot in. And then you could have Despy and Wato lose on night 8 and 7. So that way, you kind of think that they could be out, and then they win their last match, knock out House of Torture, and then you get to Desperado and Wato against Catch 2-2.
Yeah, this one's it's tough to call. I'm not sure exactly where it's headed, but in a week's time, we'll pretty much already know. And then, assuming that the finals are at Power Struggle.
Yes.
Gotcha. So yeah, I think I'm gonna tentatively lock in Wato. And my thing is like Despy and Wato, it's weird because they're kind of leading right now. So I'm assuming they're probably gonna take a couple losses here in the near future to sort of even things up a little bit so they don't get too far ahead.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think they're the biggest star tag team. There's a reason they've been in all the main events. So I assume they should probably go through to the finals. And I think it's going to be either them in House of Torture or them in Catch 2-2. Of course, they could always do War Dogs. It wouldn't be the first time they've had the champions go to a finals in a tournament like this, but I always hate that because you're going to get the same match over and over again.
Right, yeah. A single block does not really bode well for that. So, like I said, I think those guys can still end up with 12 or 10 points, have a respectable tournament, but not have to win it or be in the finals.
With Wato and Despy, were there any matches that had any weird, wonky finishes at the earlier juncture of the tournament already?
Not really.
Because sometimes in a single block, that's the tell. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like most of their matches have been straight up either clean wins or losses.
Well, yeah. I think them and Sho and Kanemaru on the final night, that's very... but that kind of screams the whole, Sho and Kanemaru threatening to go to the finals, and no one wants to see them get there, so Despy and Wato have to overcome them.
Yeah. Especially if they end up losing on night 7 and 8 and come into this final night 5 and 3.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of an oversimplification, but I'm just looking at the final night. Your top 3 matches. You've got War Dogs versus TMDK. Maybe TMDK picks up a win, and it's a big spoiler.
Yeah.
And then you got Jet Setters versus United Empire. I'm going to kind of just treat those final 2 matches like they're, A block, B block finals. And I think we'll probably just see Wato and Despy face off against the winners of the Jet Setters and Catch 2-2, whoever that may be, especially considering the history between those 2 teams this past year.
Yeah. So yeah, ultimately, I think we'll get a fun final, regardless of who wins that. But yeah, overall, really fun tournament, and yeah, should be fun finals.
So later this week on Saturday, we have Power Struggle coming up. A few of the announced matches that are here. There is going to be a pre-show Frontier Zone 6-man tag team match where Mochizuki Jr., Strong Machine J, and Yoshiki Kato will take on 3 mystery opponents. I don't know who any of these wrestlers are.
Yes.
I don't know what this promotion even is.
They're from Dragon Gate.
Okay, gotcha. Why is it called Frontier Zone?
So this is the new gimmick they started at Ryogoku, where they're doing this new thing on the pre-shows where they're bringing in guys from other promotions and other indies to give them a shot to kind of break out and see if these guys are going to come back, get contracts kind of thing, or just kind of spotlight other independent talent.
Yeah. We just want to give you guys a little bit of spotlight, and then we want to sign your best talent away from you. All right, Vince Jr., 1984. Okay. So, but they're facing 3 unknown opponents, so I don't know. I guess who knows? I don't even know if that will make air or not. Did the last one?
The last one did, yeah.
Okay. And then Will Ospreay versus Shota Umino. Is that not for the U.S. title?
Yeah, it's for the US/UK title. Umino told Will to bring both belts. So there is rumor that, the winner is going to become the Intercontinental Champion.
Right. I'm just reading this off of so that's the main event, correct?
Yeah, the matches are not in order because the full card's not announced yet, but that will probably be the main event on this show.
Jon Moxley is wrestling the Great O'Khan. I know that Great O'Khan has basically stipulated that if he beats Jon Moxley, he wants a shot at the AEW World Title. And then aside from that, later on the evening, you got Tangaloa and David Finlay again, but this time with no never title tied to it. So,
well, no, this is Tangaloa, not Tamatonga.
Oh, okay. So great, Tangaloa. Then Naito and Tsuji taking on Just Five Guys, Sonata and Yuya Uemura. The 20-minute time limit draw wasn't enough. We need to run it back.
Yep.
Then the never open weight 6-man tag team titles are on the line as Okada, Ishii, and Tanahashi take on the TMDK team of Mikey Nichols, Shane Haste, and Zack Sabre Jr. And then the IWGP Junior Heavyweight titles on the line as Hiromu Takahashi takes on Taiji Ishimori again.
Yep, another Hiromu Taiji match there.
Jeremy, I'm just going to say it. The early part of this year, it felt a lot of the time where it was like New Japan is back. But some of these big shows, not even necessarily New Japan Day to Day, that hasn't changed too much. But some of these big shows like, Power Struggle, and then what was the last one that we had for this?
Destruction and Ryogoku.
Not feeling it.
Yeah, Destruction and Ryogoku was not great. I think this show actually looks pretty good. Ospreay and Umino, that will be good. I think Moxley and Okan could be fun. Okada, Tanahashi, and Ishii against Zack and Nichols and Hayes, that'll be fun. We know Hiromu and Taiji can have a great match.
There's definitely good stuff on the card. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, we've seen Ospreay and Umino quite a few times now, and it's good, but it's never delivered up to the level I think it should, considering how they push Umino.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that he needs to win here?
I don't know if he needs to win. I think that's the real question, because the intrigue surrounding Will and his contract status and the future of him in this company, and what's going to happen on July 4th, one way or the other, is sort of all kind of surrounding this match. So there is intrigue from that perspective. Me personally, I would just keep the title on Will.
Yeah, ultimately, that's probably what they're going to do. That's probably maybe the right business call. But I'm like, man, how much times are you going to beat Umino with Ospreay?
How many times are you going to beat all of your new young upcoming stars that you've returned from excursion by guys that are walking out of the company?
True. Yeah.
It's happened quite a few times. But my thinking, and maybe this is a little bit more short term as opposed to a long term view. You got Will. You're going to do something with this belt. The big payoff probably should happen on a bigger stage, like Wrestle Kingdom, whatever that might be.
Mm-hmm.
I am of the opinion that Will is absolutely leaving the company. And I think that, if you have him drop the title now, sure, you could get something out of him come January 4th, but it's going to have less juice to it than it would be if he's, doing the favor to somebody on the way out in the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, well, all signs are pointing for him versus Jon Moxley at the Tokyo Dome. So do you have him drop this new IC title or US/UK title to Moxley?
Why do you say that? Because I hadn't heard that at all. But again, I haven't been actively watching.
Well, people are kind of speculating for, Will being in a big match, and this whole Okan facing Moxley is a way for, Moxley to beat Okan, and that kind of gets Will to want to challenge Moxley.
Well, as one of our famous presidents, George W. Bush said once, he said, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you can't get fooled again." We've already done the whole let's put our title on an AEW guy and hope he comes back. And granted, Jon Moxley's not, Kenny Omega. Like, if Jon Moxley, if it were up to him, he'd probably be wrestling in Japan like, every 2 months.
Yeah.
Quarterly. Like, he'd be here all the time. And maybe if he has the belt, that would happen. I do think that there's more of a chance of that taking place with Jon Moxley than there was with Kenny. But at the same time, Jon is in such high demand with AEW. I mean, I don't trust any arrangement any longer where an outside contracted guy holds the title, whether it's with AEW or elsewhere. I just don't want to see it. We've been burned by it too many times at this point.
Yeah.
But that is a good point. If it were to be Jon Moxley, I wouldn't want them to do that, because my whole thinking is that if Will's leaving and if he is going to drop the title, then he should just drop the belt to somebody that deserves the rub.
Yeah. Or do you wait? His contract is up in February. Do you have him drop it at New Beginning, whatever the big New Beginning is going to be in January, or the one that they do in early February?
What if you did it at New Year's Dash?
You could do that, yeah.
Something crazy like that. I also thought, and again, I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen, but like, we don't know what his future is. We don't know if there is going to be a time split, but like, let's say if he goes to AEW, for instance, what if like he leaves with the belt? That's on the table too. And I don't think it's something a lot of people have considered, like when Kenny left and he was IWGP champion, there's no chance that was going to happen because, but there already is a precedent of them having champions outside of the company. Will could leave with the title and then, split his time. I'm not saying I want to see that, but it is a real possibility.
Right. And his whole thing is, I'm the quote unquote real world champion. Like, I've been defending my belt all around the world.
Bro, it's hard to argue against it.
You have him take the belt with him and take the belt around the world to different, if it becomes the Intercontinental, the different continents, and go to AEW, go be in America.
If they were going to have him drop the belt to one of the young guys, for my money, it needs to either be Tsuji or Umino. I wouldn't be opposed to him losing to Umino here, especially since Umino's already lost to him so many times in the past. And Will's a big enough star to where, like, let's say if you did want to do that Jon Moxley match on the way out, that would be fine to do without a title. It doesn't necessarily need a title. But I'm just thinking, like, if you're wanting to, have him do the favor to somebody at the Tokyo Dome and it's a New Japan contracted guy, that might not be a bad way to go, to elevate somebody as opposed to doing it. To me, it feels a little bit cop-out-ish to do it at Power Struggle in November as opposed to Tokyo Dome.
Yeah.
Like, I would have imagined it would be Umino fighting him in the Tokyo Dome and winning the belt. I didn't think it was going to happen here.
Right, which means he's probably not winning.
Right. Which makes and again, it's a hair scratcher because there's been a lot of things that have happened in this company this past year and in the past few years where I've been a little bit like, what are we doing?
Yeah. And then, like you mentioned, like Tsuji would have been a great guy to beat Ospreay, but Ospreay just beat him. Or so are you going to run that back like that
Well,
quick?
you could run that back because he came so close. If they wanted to build to that, but I don't know if there's going to be time to really establish something like that during World Tag League. Maybe there will be. I don't know.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? Do you think Umino wins here?
I don't know. It's hard. It's like, I don't think you should be beating Umino, and I don't think he needs to lose to Will again, but it makes more sense for Will to lose at the Tokyo Dome if he's going to be leaving New Japan. And if you want him to put somebody over that's not Jon Moxley, that would be the stage for him to lose, drop the belt, and make somebody. But it's like, who do you do? It's like, you're not going to run back Umino if he beats him here in Power Struggle. Like the Tsuji match, like you could do that, but that would be a quick turnaround. I don't think you're going to do Ren Narita. I don't see them doing Yuya Uemura, so it's like, who do you do? Like, if you're not gonna do one of the young guys, so it's a weird predicament.
It's a weird predicament. I'm going with Will though.
Yeah, I mean that's the safe bet. Will probably end up winning. It'll be a story of Umino getting so close again, but losing.
But what sucks about that is, for people that have been tracking their matches going back to Red Pro, you sort of expected him to someday beat him.
Mm-hmm.
And if he doesn't do it here, it's probably not going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
So there's probably some people listening thinking that he is going to win, and maybe they're right. It's a tough call. I think that this is the most credible threat to his title reign so far. But I could see him winning.
Any chance of the hour draw?
No. I think Jon Moxley is going to beat Great O'Khan.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think I don't see that happening.
Yeah, O'Khan doesn't stand a chance.
But speaking to the quality of the show, Jeremy, like I don't know that I'm that excited for O'Khan and Moxley. Tangaloa, David Finlay. I don't know why I need to see that.
Well, Josh, Tangaloa pinned David Finlay in a tag match at Royal Quest.
I don't give a fuck. And then I guess we could talk about it. Naito and Sonata, one of the coldest world title feuds leading to a Tokyo Dome in forever.
Yeah, they're gonna mess around and end up in a fan vote. Will Ospreay gonna be main event in the Dome?
I don't think that's gonna happen, but like, damn, dude, this, and that's another thing. Like, they got good guys in there, Tsuji and Uemura. That sounds awesome, but like Naito and Sonata, bro, I don't know, man. And then the never openweight 6-man tag team is cool. That's one of the highlights of what's been going on in the company lately. In fact, I wish that they would come up with a name for Okada, Ishii, and Tanahashi. It's weird saying Chaos and Tanahashi, but that looks good. But then Hiromu and Ishimori, like, yeah, that's objectively good, but I'm so fucking tired of seeing those guys wrestle each other. I don't want to see it again.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a placeholder title match.
This card is a placeholder card, bro.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you would think this show would have to be kind of angle heavy because this is like the last major heavyweight show before January 4th. I mean, you'll have the World Tag League Finals in December, but
I'm a little surprised there's not more heavyweight tag team action leading to World Tag League on here so far.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not the full card. There will probably be some more matches announced later this week, so maybe they'll throw some more tags on there, maybe.
And then last thing, like, let me look here before we jump to the news, because I mean, I know you and we talked briefly today, but like, I just want to look at the schedule. But it's like, is this it? Like, is this our cutoff for the year?
So Lonestar Shootout is November 10th, and that's the last show before. Actually, no, there's some other.
There is an event on November 11th called NJPW Anyo Rainy Days. I don't know what the fuck that is.
Yeah, I don't know if that's airing on New Japan World or not.
Okay.
It could be, but
the first day of okay, so it looks like there's a couple New Japan road shows on the 17th and the 19th of November. I have no idea if those are going to air on New Japan World or not, but
okay, so I pulled up the world schedule, so that's up to date. So New Japan Road November 17th will be airing.
Okay. So that should be something to lead to something.
Yeah, so that's the only show that's airing. So it's Power Struggle, Lonestar Shootout, New Japan Road, and then World Tag League starts on November 20th.
Well, then that's going to be the cutoff for our year. November 20th is the new fiscal year, and we're going into award season.
Yeah, we're
in 20 days.
It's pretty crazy. We haven't really worked on much of it. I looked at the spreadsheet today. I actually also it's going to be work for us to do it, but I think it's actually going to be pretty easy to narrow down some of the stuff, just because, like you mentioned, it seemed like New Japan was going to have a hot year, and it's kind of cooled down in some areas. So I think narrowing down some of these categories it's gonna be actually easier. Like we were saying earlier on the phone, I think it's gonna be an extremely higher bar that we're gonna set for this year. And I think it's gonna narrow it down pretty easily with that.
Nice. Well, let's jump into the news before I have a panic attack. So Bryan Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli, they defeated Okada and Orange Cassidy last week on Dynamite. And we had a question here from Stale Burger Bun. Why is Okada such an unsafe worker in AEW? And I assume that there was an angle with Danielson and an injury, but it looks like about 1 hour ago, there was an update on this news story. I saw it on X, formerly known as Twitter, that Bryan's injury did not occur during that match.
Yeah, so it came out after this match that Bryan had a broken orbital bone. People thought it might have been a work to set up an angle for Tokyo Dome, but it seems like the injury is legitimate. But apparently the injury came from the Andrade match 2 weeks ago on Collision.
That's what they're saying, yeah. So I think he probably has been working with a broken orbital bone. Wouldn't be the first time he's ever done that. I wonder if it's the same eye, the same injury from, back in the Morishima days. But they used this match in particular as an opportunity to write him off for the time being, probably to build to something with him and Okada again.
Yeah, Claudio, he cut a promo. He wants to seek revenge against Cassidy and Okada. So he's facing Orange Cassidy this Wednesday on Dynamite for the international title. And then teasing potentially, he said he'll go to Japan if he has to. So if Bryan's not ready for Tokyo Dome, I guess it could be Claudio versus Okada at the Tokyo Dome.
I would not be opposed to that. The NJPW Lonestar Shootout on Friday, November 10th. There have been several matches confirmed. The card reads as follows. Shingo Takagi defending the Never Openweight title against Trent Beretta from AEW. Zack Sabre Jr. defending the NJPW World TV Championship against Speedball Mike Bailey from TNA, not Impact.
That's right. TNA is back, baby.
Mayu Iwatani from Stardom defending the IWGP Women's title against CMLL Stephanie Vacour. AEW's Eddie Kingston defending the NJPW Strong Openweight title against Satoshi Kojima from Noah. ELP and Hikuleo, the new Gorillas of Destiny, defending the NJPW Strong Tag Team titles against the West Coast Wrecking Crew. Mystico versus TJP, and Toru Yano versus Joey Janela. This is a Fire Pro ass show if there ever was one.
Seriously, but I think it's gonna be a pretty fun card though.
Looks pretty good, yeah. Fantascomania will be returning in 2024. The 2024 tour will get started in Osaka on February 12th for 2 nights before heading to Kagawa, Aichi, Makuhari Messe and Chiba, and then always the wildly popular tour conclusion in Cork and Hall on February 18th and 19th. And then after 2 successful intakes in 2023, the NJPW Academy will return to the LA Dojo in 2024 with another round of courses beginning January 22nd. Whether you're looking to begin your pro wrestling journey or you're ready to push yourself to the next level, start your 2024 strong at NJPW Academy. So I guess I'm a little confused on how this all works. Like, they're an academy, but they're going to the dojo. What the fuck's going on?
So the academy classes are happening at the dojo.
Okay, so the dojo is just still the physical place. The academy is the program.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, if you're a wrestler, you want to try your hand at this shit, you can show up on Lonestar Shootouts pre-show, maybe, if you're at the very, very top.
Go get trained by Fred Rosser.
Nice. And then Saturday, December 16th, Crystal Palace National Sports Center, Red Pros Uprising 2023. Will Ospreay versus Gabe Kidd has been added to that show. And I think that's the same show where we're getting Ishii and Luke Jacobs again, right?
Yep, yeah, the big rematch between Ishii and Luke Jacobs. So, yeah, that'll be a big show for Rev Pro.
Nice.
All right, going to close show out here with a few questions and then recommended match of the week. So first from Barry Wall says, with Impact going back to being called TNA and Okada saying a few weeks back how he hated TNA, it sounded like he was being serious. Although the people are different behind the scenes, if he wanted to, do you think he would hold enough power or sway to weaken the partnership deal if he wanted to over personal issues?
I don't know about that, but I did think about the optics of of New Japan Pro Wrestling working with TNA once again. And I did wonder, like, did they even consider that might be something that hurts the relationship potentially?
I mean, at this point, like, they've been working with Impact. It's going to be, Scott D'Amore.
Yeah. They've been working with Impact. Not TNA. I'm just saying.
That would be pretty funny if, like, the partnership just, like, stopped.
They're like, you guys are going back to TNA? I don't know, bro.
Yeah, I think the whole, like, Okada hating TNA, obviously I know he didn't have a great run there, but I think he kind of jokes about it now, so I don't think it'd be that serious. I mean, he still has a lot of friends there, friends with the machine gun and stuff like that, so it'll be fun. He also asks, is Zack Sabre Jr. the best faction leader? He is present for the Super Junior matches outside the ring to support the Sweet Boys, and Okada might not even know who was in Chaos.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, TMDK has been a pretty good faction this year. I mean, I would argue Will Ospreay is a pretty good faction leader.
I was going to say Will, but I don't know. Zach's a pretty strong leader.
Yeah,
can't win the big one, though.
Next, Rambo and Slam Pig says, between the LA Dojo graduates, the Musketeers, Fujita, Lube, Bolton, there is a lot of high-ceiling young talent in the promotion. In order to keep those guys in the mix, there will probably need to be a big downcycling of older talent. Who is on the chopping block first?
Tanahashi. Nah. I think it's really smart what they've been doing with the older talent, allowing them to kind of go out and work in these other companies and almost sort of facilitate, not quite exactly the same role, but who's the Okamura, right? Okamura is the guy in CMLL that's Japanese.
Yeah.
He sort of has like that liaison role for the company. I don't know that the relations that they're building with these outside companies isn't hurt in any way by sending some of these older, talents that are still able to draw and work to those companies. That's a great way to kind of downcycle some of those guys. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more of that ongoing. But I think like Tenzon's for sure on his way out.
Yeah, I mean, Tenzon, Makabe, Tiger Mask.
Nagata, Suzuki
Mm-hmm.
are all rapidly Kojima. Kojima's probably right now, out of all of those guys, in my opinion, the most consistently stable worker of the group. Maybe Tiger Mask, but it's probably Kojima. I think, but here's my hot take. I think right now in 2023, I think Nagata is able to still get up for the big match better than the rest of those guys, including Kojima, when he needs to, as evidenced by his last Triple Crown run. But on a day in and day out status, like I don't think Nagata is wrestling anywhere near the level Kojima is right now.
Yeah, I can see that. And I know you joked about Tanahashi, but
he's the next guy behind all those guys.
Yeah, like he's
also there's Hanma.
Yeah.
Hanma. But yeah, I think all of those guys are, but Tanahashi's like not far off from dad status.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in a lot of multi-man stuff this year. He's a never 6-man champion. Like he hasn't done a lot of big high profile singles matches this year.
Bro, when Tanahashi does his final G1, oh my god, tears.
Yeah, when are we gonna get this Tanahashi bye-bye tour?
We gotta get Sting and Tanahashi once, right?
Let's see. Next question here from Def Triangle 720. With Danielson out, do you think it would be a good choice to have Claudio be Okada's opponent at Wrestle Kingdom?
No.
I thought you said you wouldn't mind that.
Right. Like, I don't mind it. Me personally, like, from a wanting to consume that match as just a fan, I'm all for it. Do I think for business reasons that would be the prudent or smart decision for New Japan to put Claudio in a major spot against Okada at Wrestle Kingdom? Like, I'd say no. I think that it would be better because I don't think Claudio's that well of a known commodity in the market. And I don't think he's a big enough name to draw foreign eyes over to the product. I think that match would probably be better served. I know that he said he'd come to Japan and wrestle him, and that's cool. I do want to see Claudio wrestle here without the constraints, but I don't know. That match is probably better served happening in AEW, honestly. And I think for business reasons, Okada should probably wrestle somebody a little bit more high profile at the Dome.
So you're saying maybe bringing in try to find another AW guy that's...
I don't know what I'm not saying that specifically. I don't know. I'm not like fantasy booking here, but I'm just saying if I had the opportunity to do someone with a bigger name than Claudio, I would do that.
Yeah, nothing against Claudio, but yeah, definitely he's more of that upper mid-card guy, whereas, Bryan Danielson, legend, main eventer, you want somebody on that status.
Like I would do Mox and Okada. That's the kind of match that I think should be happening at the Tokyo Dome, to put it in perspective.
Yeah, because I don't think they've wrestled each other, have they?
Never.
Yeah, so that would be a cool first time dream match kind of thing.
Something like that. Like that's kind of like, and granted, sure, like Claudio would be a cool match for him to have, and he'd definitely win that one. That's one where like they wouldn't be able to do the TK, pulling the power card, but like, it's the Tokyo Dome. You only get so many of those, and I don't think that that's as high profile enough of a match, especially if you're trying to rebound business and everything like that.
Yeah, maybe you don't do Will Mox and you set up Moxley Okada, because since Mox is still in Blackpool Combat Club, he could also be trying to get revenge for Bryan against Okada.
That's the way they should go.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Then last question here from Hawaiian Punch BV. Thoughts on Fury Ngannou? Who would you pick in a rematch? Were Dana White and the UFC the ones who actually fumbled the bag?
Oh boy, here we go. The question I've been wanting. Did you watch this fight?
I didn't watch it, but I saw several clips and pictures of the fight, and it seemed like Ngannou was in there, going toe to toe with Fury.
I thought Francis Ngannou won the fight. I definitely, it was a close fight in terms of like the scorecards, but I don't think Tyson Fury had shit for Ngannou in this fight. It is funny. It was a 10-round fight. The one really intriguing thing behind it is Ngannou is the lineal MMA World Heavyweight Champion. He's no longer the UFC champion, but he was the lineal world champion when he left that company. And that doesn't end just because he's not under contract with the Premier Sports League. He takes the status with him. And Tyson Fury, likewise, is the lineal boxing world heavyweight champion. So you got the two lineal champions going head to head in this sport, and nobody gave Francis a shot. And like, even me, bro, like I've said, I don't know if I've talked about it that much on the air here, but I've said many times that I thought Francis had a shot just because he has so much power. But I didn't think it was a shot in the sense of like, it would go to a decision and he'd be standing there looking like the better fighter after 10 rounds. I thought he'd try to bum rush him and maybe catch him with a big shot and put him down. And like, that's not what happened here at all. And the other thing that's so crazy about it is if you watched, Francis Ngannou work on pads and work with his boxing trainers, bro, he did not look good at all. Like he didn't look fluid. He looked like a novice, like a guy that couldn't string together any punches. It was fucking, I was like, oh my God, he's going to get savaged by Tyson Fury tomorrow. And then they went out there and like Fury hit him with a few big right hands right off the bat. Pop, pop. And Francis ate that shit up and he didn't move. And it was like, oh no. And like, that's the thing. Francis is an incredibly gifted, like athletic human. He's a freak in nature. And I don't think Tyson Fury had any power to hurt him. And he fought a really smart game plan. Like anyone who watched the fight, you'll notice he didn't go forward that much. Because if he was going forward, that would allow Tyson to counter him. He never really gave Tyson the chance to counter him, but he also never went back. And Tyson's really good putting people on their back heels when needed. And he never did that. Like he was never on the ropes. He was never in the corner. He just kind of stood his ground in the middle of the ring and just kind of dictated where Tyson was going. And he used a long guard most of the fight to kind of keep the jab away. And it worked really well. So like Tyson never was able to get the jab off on him hardly at all. And then he used his left hook off of his long guard. Like he was threatening the right hand most of the fight. And Tyson was trying to get away from the right hand and he kept walking into left hooks. And he even dropped Tyson Fury in the third round, which was fucking crazy.
Yeah, that's the picture that everybody's sharing, like that drop down.
Bro, this is a guy where, like, before this fight, everyone was saying, like, this is the greatest world heavyweight champion, just in terms of, like, head-to-head mythical matchups because of his size and his athleticism in terms of, like, his defensive prowess and stuff like that. And, like, he went in there with a guy who's never, ever boxed in his entire life and got taken to the distance. Like, it's fucking crazy. Yeah, now the CompuBox stats do say that Tyson Fury landed more, so maybe I didn't personally like score it. Maybe I should go back and rewatch it. But I thought Ngannou took like 6 of the rounds, and including the knockdown, I thought that it was pretty much open shut. He won the fight. Even in the rounds where he didn't land as much, his punches were so much more impactful, and he was much more the aggressor. And the fact that Fury wasn't able to hurt him in any way whatsoever and wasn't landing any big shots. And, Francis was landing mostly power shots. I thought Francis Ngannou beat him. Like, in my book, I think he's the lineal world champion of MMA and boxing right now. Like, it's fucking crazy. So, this is a guy that he had a lot of issues from a business standpoint with Dana White and with the UFC. And they basically painted a picture saying that he was difficult to work with, he was a prima donna, he was scared to fight the best fighters in the world, and he took his ball and went home. They treat him like Austin when he left the WWE. You know, they basically buried him on the way out. And a bunch of, honestly, bro, there's a lot of really dumb MMA fans out there. They just eat up whatever the fuck Dana White and like the propaganda machine tells them. And they literally think that this guy like is one of the worst heavyweights in the world, when in fact he's the scariest MMA heavyweight I've ever seen. Like, he's fucking iced everybody. He knocked out Kane, he knocked out Dos Santos, he knocked out Stipe. Like, he knocked out Alistair Overeem. Like, he's fucking scary. And then he dropped Tyson Fury. I think he's a genius, because there were certain things he wanted from the UFC, whether that was, sponsorship deals for the fighters, managerial representation to help vouch for them, like better, healthcare and pay and stuff like that. I don't think that this is a guy that was scared at all. I think that he knows his value and his worth, and he wanted more pay-per-view points. He wanted more money, and he wanted a box. He wanted to do outside, prospects, and they said no. And he went and took this fight. No one even thought he'd get the fight. Now he has the fight. He made over $10 million, probably more than that. But now that he like quote unquote won, even though he lost, there's a rematch on the table. There's a fight with Wilder on the table. I could see him getting at least one or two more boxing fights, not to mention the avenue that's opened up with him working for PFL, who just bought Bellator, by the way. And there's a guarantee that anybody that fights him in MMA is going to make at minimum $2 million on pay-per-view. You can't tell me that people don't want to see Francis Ngannou fight on pay-per-view now. Like, this is the first time since Pride Fighting Championship went under in 2007. This is the first time that there is a true, legitimate, big-time MMA draw that could probably draw on pay-per-view outside since like Fedor.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I don't really want to watch anybody in PFL or Bellator personally necessarily, but if Francis Ngannou is going to go on pay-per-view and fight, I don't really know I don't even care who it is. I'm going to probably go watch it or pay to see it.
Yeah, he's an incredible fighter to watch. Like you mentioned, super scary, knockout power. There's mentioning, they have the punching meter thing in the UFC gyms, and he has like the hardest punch that has hit that thing. And yeah, it seemed like from all the pictures and reviews that, he probably should have won this Fury fight. And first time you have like an 0-0 guy in boxing, no official boxing match or boxing experience, going in there with the world champion, knocking him on his butt and looking like the better man.
Yeah, and the UFC do look dumb here because they didn't want him to box and get owned and then make the brand look bad. But let's reverse it. What if they had let him go out there like Conor McGregor and fight this fight, and instead of Conor getting knocked out by Mayweather, like, the UFC world champion went out there and had this fight, like, they would look like geniuses, and he'd be a major, he'd be an even bigger star because he'd still have the UFC platform behind him. And then could you imagine the money that would be on the table for a fight with him and John Jones, which is probably never going to happen.
Right.
And I am wondering how this is going to affect John Jones, because that guy, the ego on that guy, the entire narrative has been, well, he left because he was scared. But now everybody saw him just fucking son Tyson Fury, and there's people that are going to be like, is John actually the best? Because Tyson Fury is a fucking man. And I'm wondering if John Jones is going to be like, I want to fight that guy.
Maybe he's the one that can help spark the deal and get Ngannou back in.
I don't know what they need to do, but Francis is a genius at this point. And it's funny because I said that I thought he was doing the right thing at the time. A lot of MMA fans that I talked to kind of ridiculed me and made fun of me and basically said that the guy was scared. And I'm like, he's not scared. Look at him. Like, he's a businessman. He's doing the best thing for him and his family, and it's paying off. And it reminds me a little bit of what Jake Paul and those guys have done, because Jake Paul's about to jump into MMA. He's been fighting all these MMA fighters boxing. Now he's going to do MMA, and he's obviously going to lose, but that avenue has been opened up for the cross promotion. I could see some boxers wanting to jump into the cage with him, and then him go do boxing again and everything like that. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, that's it for the questions. Now we'll go on to recommended match of the week. We've had a break the last few weeks, so we'll pick it back up here. I'm going to kick us off with the excursion match of the week. Going to go with Will Ospreay versus Speedball Mike Bailey from Impact's Bound for Glory.
Have you seen that match yet?
I have not, but I've seen some GIFs. I know Dave went, 5.25 or 5.5, something like that. Highest rated TNA match in history now.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, I guess it is, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we should, honestly, man, let's just both watch it. I'm almost like, I'm thinking we should even rethink the format of recommended match of the week, but I say we both just watch that match and then come back with our thoughts next week.
All right. Sounds good for that. So we'll do that, talk about that match next week. That'll wrap things up for us here this week. Next week, we'll be back to review Power Struggle and cover all this news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. So if you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation. Visit socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure to connect with us on social media. On X, formerly known as Twitter, you can follow us at KI Strong Style. Follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan. Follow the network at Social Suplex. On Facebook.com/Social Suplex. On Instagram at Social Suplex. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy, just Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, Jeremy at socialsuplex.com. Check out all the other shows that we have here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. All Things Elite, hosted by Floyd Johnson Jr. and Austin Tumowitz. Imp's WWE Adventure with the Implications, Matthew Meir. And we got some new shows coming soon to the network. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Get your bond.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.